The first chart we're going to look at is of a Leo ascendant. And one of the best things you want to do is, after just taking a glance to see what areas of life is this person going to have difficulty in, you want to take a look at the ascendant, because the ascendant is going to tell you a lot about this person. Now, with a Leo ascendant, what are the things that we need to know? Well, number one, Leo typically represents nobility, or the king, or the queen. Since it's the natural fifth sign, and the fifth sign, like the fifth house, is that area of the chart where we're able to alter and change our destiny, this shows an inspirational figure, someone who aims to create their own destiny, to follow their own path, and to essentially be a leader of some sort, even if it's just leading their life the way they want to live it. And this can give a very magnetic personality, and it can give a charming personality. Once we look at the ascendant, what we need to do is see, are there planets in the ascendant, or are there planets aspecting the ascendant? Because this is going to start to color the person's personality, who they are, what they are about, aside from these general baseline Leo qualities. Looking at this chart, we see that this person has a lot of influences on the ascendant. There's the sun aspecting the ascendant, which is good, because the sun rules the ascendant. So that shows that the sun is going to give more consistency to the personality, more strength to the body, more strength to the person's ability to maintain their path and steadfastness in the world. Number one, because it's the ascendant lord aspecting the first house, but number two, because it's the sun. The sun represents that steadfastness and that commitment. And the sun in this chart is exalted, so that gives a very good bodily karma, a very good personality-based karma. The moon is aspecting the ascendant, but only to about 16 points out of 30. The moon is debilitated. Now, the moon is our ability to adapt and change. The moon is our ability to feel like we fit in and that we are emotionally nourished within the world. And this is going to show some weaknesses within the person's personality, some empathetic weaknesses, and it will give a sense of loss and loneliness. Loneliness because on some level emotionally, they're not going to feel like they're well understood, despite they're strong within their personality, because of that sun. Next we see Mars influences the first house. And Mars is in an enemy sign, which means that the natural qualities of Mars are going to cause problems for this person's personality, are going to cause problems for this person's expression within the world. And what are those? Well, Mars is a planet of logic, a planet of initiative, and doing things at the right time. This can show potentially an impatient person, or a person who doesn't quite necessarily know when to do something. They might also be illogical about their path. They're not able to see when is it appropriate to change and do something different, so their instincts are a little bit off. This can sometimes also give a strongly opinionated person, but opinions that aren't necessarily healthy or proven based on logic. Jupiter is influencing this person's first house. Jupiter is aspecting the first house to 59 points. That's 59 out of 60. Jupiter's in a great friend sign. Jupiter is also in a trine, the best placement for Jupiter. And Jupiter, with Logitatia Vashtas, is with the sun. And what we see here is we have this grace of Jupiter, not only impacting the body, impacting the health, the personality, but it's also impacting the lord of the body, the health and the personality, which is going to show that grace is going to carry this person very far. And despite the weaknesses that the moon and Mars can bring, this person is going to have wisdom, going to be able to give good counsel, and is going to be able to see in the bigger picture, the bigger scheme of things, just what is the wise choice to make, what is the right choice to make within the bigger scheme of things. And since Jupiter is a planet of health, Jupiter is actually a planet of very good health, and it's with the ascendant lord, and it's aspecting the first house. This is really going to help the person's health. And when I was doing the chart of this person, they asked about health. And since I wasn't thinking about that, for some reason the first thing I went to was Mars and Saturn. And I thought there might be some muscular issues, and there still might be. She mentioned some of those, some back issues. However, overall she said she was pretty healthy, no problems, doing pretty good. And what happened there? Well, I just didn't look at the fact that the sun was exalted, which is the ruler of the body. The sun is also an indication for the self. The sun was with Jupiter in a great friend sign, and the sun was in the ninth house, which is also a placement that it likes it. So you always have to remember, there's so much stuff to look at that even after you've been doing this for decades, you're not going to catch it all, but we can go back and we can learn from our mistakes, much like I did in regards to this area of health, which is something so simple and so obvious. I mean, that shouldn't have even been anything that I hesitated with. That should have been the first place that I went and looked. But anyway, point being, we can all miss things. One thing, though, I did mention about health, aside from the back and muscular problems, was having too much pitta, too much heat within the body. And the only reason I said that was because, number one, she's ruled by the sun. Her sun is exalted. Her sun is in Aries, which is a fire sign. And she had that impact of Mars to the first house. And Mars is heat that can cause infections. It's like a moist heat, not like a dry, healthy heat. And she said that, Ayurvedically speaking, when she went to a practitioner, they said, yes, her heat was too high, and that was one thing she did need to manage. So even when you've got good health, there can be certain things that we see that might still need to be addressed to keep us in balance. Now, we also see that Venus is aspecting this ascendant, and Venus is in its own home in the 10th house. Great placement for Venus. What does Venus represent? Venus represents compassion, fairness, making sure everyone feels like they are getting their fair share in life. Venus is a planet of ease and comfort. And so this person does have a very pleasant personality. Other people feel very calm and very safe around them. And part of the work that she does deals with bringing comfort to people. First, she was involved in a legal profession, and we'll get to why that is in the first place. But then she decided to get involved in a healing profession, a counseling profession, and all this is very clearly indicated within her chart. And one of the things that this person wanted to look at within our session was their path in life, and whether they were on their path in life. And so that was really the first thing that I jumped to, after I got a sense of who they were based on planet's influence in the ascendant, what the ascendant was. Now, in order for me to see the path, I saw, well, where does the ascendant Lord go? Because the Ascendant Lord represents our body and our personality. The Ascendant Lord goes into the 9th house. The 9th house naturally is a house of counsel, of guidance, of teaching, of education, and it's with Jupiter, a planet of guidance, counsel, teaching, and education. I then thought to myself, well, what planets are influencing that 10th house by Rasi aspect? And what I saw was that Venus was in the 10th by Rasi aspect. Venus rules the 3rd house, and Venus rules the 10th house. Now, the 3rd house deals with contracts. The 3rd house deals with writing. It deals with art, dance, music, the voice. It deals with communication and short travels. So I had to think to myself, well, what is this person, how does this fit into their career? So once I had a sense of just those ideas, then I remembered that, and I went on to look at the influences on the 2nd house. Because the 2nd house, that also shows how we make our money and how we meet our responsibilities, and has a profound impact on what we do. Now, the ruler of the 2nd house goes into the 8th. The 8th house deals with the affairs of the dead. It deals with the money of others. And the ruler of the 2nd house is Mercury, which is managing. So I thought to myself, okay, so we have this management quality dealing with 8th house issues, the affairs of the dead, other people's money. What could that mean that she does? Well, she manages other people's money. She deals with the affairs of the dead. And having her Ascendant Lord in the 9th, which is giving good counsel, with Jupiter, which is also a planet of legality, I thought she probably works with people to help plan their finances, or she works with people to manage their losses, something of that nature. And that's as far as I got. So I thought, all right, we'll just stick with that. I wrote that down in my notes, and that's exactly what I was going to share with her, all of those points, because with a career, it was easier many, many, many years ago when careers were simple. This person's going to be a blacksmith. This person's going to be a servant. This person's going to be an accountant. There wasn't all of this interplay of certain skills that we have nowadays in our current culture and our current world. And what we have to do now is just think about how can all of these things overlay together. And you might not be able to get spot on exactly what they did. Turns out this person did estate planning. So they helped people, she was a lawyer, helped people manage their losses. So after a family member died, they helped plan for the death, such as creating wills and even executing those wills. all that ties in together here. Sun and Jupiter in the ninth. This gives them the legal knowledge. That also gives a very good education, by the way, having those two planets in the ninth house. And then looking at the influences on the 10th, we see that Venus is in the 10th. The natural indications of Venus are a compassionate, caring, fair nature. Venus is in its own home. That means that when she communicates with people that she works with, that comes across. They've experienced loss, or they're planning for loss, and she does very good in that regard, helping people in this way. The ruler of the second house is in the 8th. That means the work is going to have something to do with 8th house matters, other people's money, the affairs of the dead, taxes, even the occult, which she happens to have a little bit of interest in. So all of this ties together to give her career and what she's all about.